So we are going to record this for those that did sign up and didn't get a chance to make it. And frankly, we are sharing both recordings with the broader district because Governor Danielle has charged our local clubs with producing videos that may be showcased at this year's district conference. So if you haven't heard about this from your president yet, feel free to go back to your club president and say, hey, I took that video course. How can I help? And that would be a great way for you to start getting your hands dirty with video editing and filming and all that good stuff. All right, so a few housekeeping items. For those of you that joined late, we're having everyone enter into the chat, their name, their Rotary Club, and just because we did have an international attendee last week, if you are from outside of District 5150, go ahead and put your district number as well, just so everyone can get a chance to get to know each other. And before we go on, I do have another poll. I think my slides are out of order, but that's okay. You guys can bear with it. I'm going to go ahead and put a poll on screen now. Oh, no, hold on. Just a moment. Okay. Your poll should be on screen. Hopefully, if you're logging in from a tablet or a mobile device, you may need to click the little 3 dots that say more and then select polls to see it. Could someone give me another thumbs up? Oh, I'm seeing answers come in, so that's good. They're coming in. There's 2 main questions. I like to always poll and understand the general experience level when we go through this, just to kind of guide people. And it looks like those that are responding so far are in the right place. And then for my own selfish reasons, polling to understand what kind of smartphone you all have. So it looks like almost everyone has responded. Give you another moment or two. Actually, everyone has responded because 2 of the participants are actually me. All right, so I'm going to end poll and I'm going to show you where we are on the results. And it looks like most people have never played with video editing before, and then a few of you have tried it. So that's great. No matter if you are an expert or a brand new beginner, you're in the right place. I'm going to try to walk you through basic editing as simply as possible so that you can, at the end of this course, go home and start putting together your own pieces on your own. And lucky for me, everybody here is an iPhone user. And the reason I say lucky for me is when I taught this course in the past, it's hard because sometimes I've had a room that's 50-50 iPhone, Android, or maybe the majority is Android. I've always been an iPhone user. And so there are apps that now there are more apps that are available for iPhone and Android. So I am able to shift my curriculum to appease the audience. But frankly, iMovie is a great place to start for beginner editors. They have a really easy to follow platform, and yet they have enough special effects and basic functionality that you can do a pretty decent video. Plus, for Apple users, it's free. So some of these apps like PowerDirector, which is, oh, that's a typo. That's actually, PowerDirector is available for Apple and Android. It does have actually more capabilities than iMovie does. However, there's a lot of, I feel like every other minute they're upselling you, like buy the pro version. Oh, you want this? Well, buy that. And or they have little ads that pop up while you're trying to edit. And to me, it's frustrating. Like, just give me the product and let me play with it. So that's sometimes I'll play with PowerDirector for the Android audience. And also InShot is another really cool app as well, which if we have time, I'll demo a little bit. For those of you that want to take your video editing and play in the social media space, there are some cool reasons of why you might choose InShot over iMovie, but iMovie is a great place to start for learning purposes. So that's where we will go. All right. Just a reminder, stay on mute if you can. I don't have a Zoom host with me this evening, so I will keep an eye on the chat in case you have a question. You're also welcome to raise your virtual hand, or if it appears that I've powered on through and I've missed a question, you are certainly welcome to take yourself off mute, since this is a pretty intimate group this evening. Now, there was one thing I forgot last week. I'm so sorry. And I wanted to make sure I covered it today. I woke up the next morning and I went, oh no, this is really important information. And it had to do with the equipment that we talked about. You recall we looked at tripods, we looked at microphones, and different things that you could buy inexpensively to increase the quality of your video or your filming. So the important note that I forgot is the type of mic you buy, not necessarily the brand, but if you were to go on Amazon and say, I need a mic, there are mics for expensive video cameras, and then there are mics for smartphones. They are not interchangeable. So you need, if you decide to buy a lapel mic or a wireless mic, you need to make sure that it is smartphone enabled. And there's an easy way to tell if what you have is smartphone enabled. And if you look at this screen, some of you that maybe remember the old Sesame Street tune, 3 of these things belong together. And then there's something else about one of them standing out, right? So some of you may notice, obviously there's a color coded thing here. That's not what I'm looking for. So don't look at the black versus the gray. Rather look at the jack that would fit into your smartphone, or it fit into your headphone jack, rather, that port. Look at that. You'll see it, the ones with the black heads only have 2 stripes. Do you see that? But the gray head, it has 3 stripes. So microphones that are enabled for smartphones have those 3 stripes, and those that are not have the 2 stripes. So these were some cords that I had. I just took a quick picture so that I could show it to you. But yeah, that is a kind of a rule of thumb there on if you have a mic and it doesn't clearly say that it's smartphone enabled and you're not sure, just check the head of the thing that will go into the headphone jack and see how many stripes are on the stem. So that's the one thing I forgot. Hopefully that helps you if you haven't already purchased your equipment. All right, we've already done the poll. So today we're going to very simply cover basic smartphone editing techniques, and we're going to examine how you can share your finished video when you're all done. So I think I've already told you I'm a lifelong iPhone user. Honestly, it used to be the leading smartphone and operating system type for video production early on, just because iPhone came out of the gate strong with more advanced editing apps and tools. Frankly, Android has caught up. So there are competitive apps out there on the Android side and just as phenomenal camera capabilities. So I can't really tout iPhone is the very best anymore. It's really an operating platform preference. I will say the one cool thing about iPhone is the AirDrop capabilities. So you can share a whole bunch of content with your friends on site with a click of a button, just simply over the airwaves. So if you're out at a Rotary Service project and you say, all right, members, go grab a bunch of footage, at the end, they could all come back and put it all on one phone. So if you're doing all the editing, you then have everyone's content. You don't have to worry about dealing with Dropbox or downloading from email or a whole bunch of text messages or anything like that. And Android may have that too. I don't know. But again, part of the reason I love iPhone. So today we're going to be editing in iMovie, as I mentioned. If you want to, most of the time, iMovie comes already installed on iPhones, although I can't speak for the very latest models of iPhone. I don't have the very latest model. But if not, you can download it for free from the App Store. You have the option, if you want to download it and try to follow along, you can, or if you just want to watch and take notes, that's fine. And then you can download it later and watch the recording to help you edit. I've had people go both ways. I will say sometimes people are trying to create a movie as I'm demonstrating and they get lost. So I'm just putting that out there. But if you don't already have iMovie, this is what the app looks like. Go ahead and download it. So I am going to do some trickery here and actually switch devices so that I can do this live for you. So give me about 20 seconds and we'll get going here in just a moment. So Just a second. Okay, I am sharing my screen and you are seeing it. Excellent. All righty. So this is what iMovie looks like when you first open it up. Now I already have some projects here. You'll see I have quite a few because I use this not only for Rotary, but work and a lot of different things. And frankly, I've been using iMovie for a long time. So I have a ton of stuff in there that I probably need to go back and delete. For you, you will probably only see the gray square with the plus sign if you are opening iMovie right now. Now, before I open iMovie, I just want to give you a little demo of what we're going to attempt to create this evening. And I'm not sure if I shared my sound, so if you're not hearing sound once I hear play, give me some aggressive shakes of the head and I'll try to figure this out. All right, here we go.
We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn and engage in fellowship and just become better Rotarians through this event. The thing I love most about it is how quickly ideas are shared and how quickly you meet so many people in such a tight space, and you go from meeting to talking, connecting, planning projects, and doing good in the world so fast. It's probably the reason why I'm going to be a Rotarian forever.
So that's just a really quick, literally a 40-second clip that could be, if this person, this Rotaractor, could share with his fellow members back home to talk about why going to the convention is so great. 40 seconds. And we saw a lot there. We got to hear from a Rotarian first person perspective about why they love it. And we got to also see a little bit of the convention. Yes, this was actually filmed live in Hamburg when I actually presented this same course, a little bit different format. And this interview was recorded live in the middle of this session. Now, I love to demonstrate how to record interviews, but unfortunately, Zoom won't allow me to broadcast my screen and record at the same time. So we have to improvise a little bit, but I think we covered that well enough last time. So let's try to recreate that movie, shall we? And let me get my chat out, make sure I didn't miss anything. Can you use iMovie on a PC? I don't know. I know you can on a Mac and iPad. I would have to look that up. That's a good question. I've never had that before. That being said, there are some basic video editing programs. Their names are not coming to mind at the moment, but Mark, I could certainly research that and get back to you on that after the course. Let me just make a quick note of that. Thanks for that question.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. So I'm going to press that plus sign. And again, if this looks a little different, I am holding it horizontally to fill your screen, but if you're more comfortable vertically, that's fine. iMovie is going to give you two different options. It's going to give you a movie, obviously. And what this is, and this is what we're going to use. Movie gives you the option to have full control over everything in terms of how long you want something to be shown on the screen, where you want to make your cuts. You know, you basically make it from scratch. Trailer is actually kind of a cool feature, and that I'm going to encourage you to play with after this course. It literally will take different clips that you have. You can just say, use these 4 or 5, however many video clips. And then it has pre-created templates, if you will, that creates like this whiz bang cool trailer. So it has pre-built animation, and sometimes there's a Hollywood theme, or sometimes there's a vacation theme, whatever it may be. And it just randomly grabs those clips that you said, sure, use these, and creates kind of like almost like a photo collage of videos. So if you're looking, if you didn't get an interview, or you're not really sure what to do with footage that you gathered from Rotary Project, and you just want to do something fun like that, that's cool too. We're not going to cover that today, but that's what that is, just so you know. All right, we're going to click on movie there. And this is what we see. Now I'm going to try not to disorient you all, and I will warn you when I'm going to turn my device. So I'm going to turn it vertically now, just because it can be disorienting on Zoom. Now, when you first hit create movie, it's actually going to ask, what footage do you want to import? And so if you hit that arrow at the top left of the screen, which I just did, that will get you back to all of your base stuff. This is sort of like your photo albums on your phone. It does separate photo from video, and you can do photo slideshows on here as well. It also recognizes albums. So I don't know if anybody files their footage away, or their photos or various things in albums. I did for this course to save me some headaches because, well, the Hamburg convention was a while ago. So here's all the footage I have that I'm going to be using for today. And so what I would caution you is, if you're going to try to create a video similar to the one I showed you, where basically someone is doing the talking and explaining what's going on, start with that first. And then once we have locked the narrative, so to speak, then we're going to go back and put all the visuals in. Okay. So for that, I have my interview on your screen. It's the second row furthest to the left. So I'm just going to tap on that box. You'll see that it's check marked there. And if I knew I wanted to add a whole bunch of footage, then, at one time, I could just go ahead and check box a lot of these things. But I don't want to do that just yet. I'm just going to start with this one narrative. It's the only narrative I have, honestly. If you had a couple interviews, then go ahead and check mark 2. So let's just pretend this is an interview, even though it's not. And I'll show you what happens when you import more than one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select create movie at the very bottom now that I have selected my 2 videos that I want to use. And basically what it does then is it puts it into what's known as our timeline. Okay, I'm going to shift back to horizontal mode. So here we go. Woo! Okay. So before we start doing any major editing, let me orient you to our screen real quick. This is basically your editing bay. And on your left side, you'll see that in that left-hand toolbar, you have 3 options. That done is exactly what it means. You're done, and it's going to take you back to your main iMovie screen. Plus sign is how you're going to continue to add content or different elements. The play button below that is exactly what it means. It's how you're going to preview your editing so far. Then over on the right side of the screen, you'll see that we have a question mark, what looks like a rotary cog, sort of, and an arrow kind of looping back to the left. So that question mark is actually a pretty decent help section. If you tap on that, you can tap into iMovie's different help, basic questions on how do I do this or what about that. The gear is the settings for the film. I will tap on that just to show you what that is made up of. There's not a whole lot of options, but there are a couple things you may want to note. First, there's that upper row is project filter. I don't really use those. I'm not cool like the kids these days, so I don't do the filter thing. However, if you had a reason to want to make a black and white film, you could select that filter, or if you did want to play with your footage and the colors, that's great. Note that if you do it in settings, it applies to the whole piece and not just a clip. So like I said, I don't play with them, but you're welcome to. Secondly is theme. Now, this can be kind of cool if you want to add some interesting thematic transitions. So for example, neon here, it has like this, as you can see, there's this colorful border sort of around the woman in the picture. That acts as like a transition. So every time we transition from clip to clip, there's some sort of cool, colorful animation. They also apply these colors to their title slides. Can be a lot of fun. So as I said earlier, play with things. Just because I don't use it tonight doesn't mean you can't. And you may start to find there's a certain theme that you actually love to use, and that's great. But we're going to stick with, I think we were on modern. So we're going to stick with modern this evening. And then finally, the things I wanted to to show you that you may love to use, and I do use them from time to time, are those fade in options that are in the middle of those 4 options at the bottom. Fade in from black means at the very start of your video, it will be black and just kind of fade in, which is a cool artistic thing. And at the very end of your video, it will fade out. So for fun, I'm going to fade out to black, but that's it. Speed changes pitch. That means if you change the speed of a clip, then it will also change the pitch of whatever is recorded in the audio. And theme soundtrack is related to, if you do pick a theme like Neon that we talked about earlier, it does have a built-in soundtrack. I don't want that, so I'm not going to turn that on. Okay, that was a really detailed explanation of settings. So that is that icon over on the right side, the gear. No, it's not for rotary, but I'd like to think it is. And then the final icon on the right side is the beloved undo button. And it's really wonderful to know where that is sometimes. So those are just those options on the left and the right. You won't use them a lot, but it is good to know what those are. Now, at the bottom of the screen, this is kind of our editing bay, if you will. And you'll see in the center, there's a white vertical line. Consider that like your cursor in a document. It tells you where you are in the overall piece. And the larger image above that, so you see a woman making an unfortunate face, sorry, the way she's posed, that is actually reflective of where the cursor is in that particular video clip. All right, so that's going to come in handy for us as we start to edit, so that we understand where we're cutting certain pieces or how visuals may look as we move throughout the piece. Now, to move your way through this editing bay at the bottom, you simply will just take your finger and just sort of drag it along. So I placed my finger just on any clip and pulled it along. And so you can see how as I move the content, you see that preview screen is adjusting with the cursor. So that's what that is. All righty. So a few more things before we get started. Let me get caught up on my notes here. Welcome, Trevor. I'm glad you're here. And I almost forgot. So we selected 2 clips, even though I only needed 1. And so the reason I did that is just to show you what happens. So it begins to then layer in the clips that you selected. So here was the first clip we selected, and here's the second clip. All right. So that's how that would work. If you did interview multiple people and you just pulled all those clips in at one time, it basically puts them in order. If I decided I wanted to include her clip first, I would simply move it to the start, which we'll talk about in just a moment. All right, so let's talk about editing or adjusting clips rather. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this clip here. Now, this is the gentleman that we saw in the finished clip that I showed at the start. And I'm going to play for you the full interview, or almost the full interview, and you'll start to recognize the pieces that you heard versus this is what the clip actually looked like as it was recorded. So here we go.
Recording here. And I'm going to have you start by telling me your name and your Rotary Club.
My name is Daniel Hamlin, and I am a member of the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus Rotary Club in Buffalo, New York, and a Rotaractor at the University of Buffalo Rotaract Club.
Okay, that's awesome. High five for being both. Okay, so in just a sentence or two, can you describe for me where we are? What is this big event that we're all attending?
We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn and engage in fellowship and just become better Rotarians through this event.
Excellent response. What do you enjoy most about attending a convention?
The thing I love most about it is how quickly ideas are shared and how quickly you meet so many people in such a tight space, and you go from meeting to talking, connecting, planning projects, and doing good in the world so fast.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the viewers about an international convention?
It's probably the reason why I'm going to be a Rotarian forever.
Awesome.
All right. And I did not pay that young man to say all those wonderful things. That was true. That was a volunteer. I said, can I have a volunteer? And that's what happened. So gotta love our rotor actors. All right. So that's the full interview. So we're going to start to cut that up. So let me show you some more tools in your editing bay that we haven't covered just yet. When I tap on the clip that I want to edit, and basically I'm taking my finger and I'm just going to tap Daniel's full clip there, you'll see that suddenly there are a number of editing options that present themselves. The left-hand side, you see we have scissors, a speedometer, what looks like an audio option, a T, and some cool little circles. Each one of those then has a related menu that you see on the right side. So for the scissors, which is highlighted right now, you see on the right side, we have options for split, detach, duplicate, and delete. So what we're going to start with is the split feature. And actually there's two ways to adjust the length of a clip. There's the split, and then there's also these just grabbing and moving the sides of the clip itself. So as you recall, I do a lot of talking in this to kind of get him started. So what we're going to try to do now is using either the sidebars or the split function, we're going to try to remove me from the narrative completely. Now there's a really easy cheater way to do this if you are interviewing people, and that is to watch the interviewee start and stop moving their lips, right? They're not moving their lips while I'm asking the question. So that's a really quick way to get there. So we're going to just kind of slide this along. We're going to wait for Daniel to start moving his lips. So I'm kind of moving back and forth with my finger, you can see. And it looks like about there is where he starts, right? So we've got our menu here, and I'm going to select split. What that does is it literally splits that clip right at that point. So now we have this clip, which should be me talking. Let's see.
Recording here. And I'm going to have you start by telling me your name and your Rotary Club.
My name is Daniel Hamlin, and I am a member of the...
So that's about right. We might fine tune the start of that, but we now have separated at least the first time I talk from the rest of the clip. So what now I'm going to show you is how to delete. Very simply, you're going to select what you no longer need and select delete from that menu. There you go. So that's how split works. Now you also have this, if you wanted to adjust the clip by saying, okay, I just wanted to trim the first part of it and not use split, you can also use your finger by pressing and holding on that yellow bar and then pulling it in or out. So I'm going to actually undo my cut by pressing and holding on the wider, thicker part on the end of that clip, the yellow, wider, thicker yellow part. Oops, sorry about that. And then pull. And now I'm basically pulling it back out to undo what I just did. Let's
recording here. And I'm going to have you.
So the reverse is true. If you wanted to trim off my part, you could also drag your finger back and just kind of wait for Daniel to start talking about there. And now we are starting without me at all.
My name is Daniel Hamlin, and I am a member of the Buffalo Niagara Medical Care.
So those are two ways to adjust the clip. And so if we were putting together an interview, we could just kind of watch for him to stop talking. I'm going to split that. And then we're going to look for him to start talking again. Cut out my enthusiastic high five. All right. And so this middle part, let's double check.
You describe for me.
Yep, it's me talking. So we're going to take that out. Now, I asked pretty basic questions here about the event. So I feel confident cutting me out and not worrying about, will I miss the context of the interview and what Daniel was talking about. If you were to do a more in-depth interview, you may want to keep yourself in there a little longer just to remember that context as you're editing. But again, for this type of quick hit video where I'm looking to share this quickly with my club at a meeting or maybe throw it up on Facebook or something like that, you don't really need to keep yourself in there. Now, one thing when you go to interview someone is, and I hope you don't mind that I am multitasking, I'm cutting myself out here while I'm explaining all this, is I had forewarned Daniel to go ahead and answer, or you may want to forewarn someone if possible to answer and repeat part of that question back in their answer. And let me give you an example. If you ask someone their favorite color and they say blue, and you cut yourself out, in the video, all you're going to hear is blue. That's not going to make any sense. So if you were to ask them to repeat the question as part of their answer, then when you're editing the video, they should have said, my favorite color is blue. Then you have something else to work with, right? So that may be something you want to cue up your interviewee to do as they are, before they start interviewing, rather. All right, I think that was an so I'm going to cut that. All right, so now I've multitasked a bit, but I believe we have only Daniel. Let's do a quick test.
Buffalo Rotary Club.
We're all attending.
We're at the Rotary.
Almost. That was a great example of where this little slide could come in, just to trim it up a little bit. Let's see.
Rotary Club. We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany.
Okay, and
The thing I love most about
so I think all of you get the idea, right?
it's
I'm
probably
seeing some nods, so that's a good sign. So again, I'm trying to get myself out, so I'm left with this narrative. And this goes back to that concept I mentioned of locking the narrative. What I'm trying to do is secure that audio track, if you will, underneath of Daniel here explaining what it is that people are soon going to be seeing on screen. All right. And as I showed there, there's a little bit of this track, the second clip, where my voice kind of seeps in. Now, since you all are iPhone users, you all are probably used to the concept of using the pinch or the spread your fingers to either zoom in or zoom out, right? So similar to that, I can place my two fingers on my timeline and push my fingers apart. I don't know if you can see me in the window here. And what I'm effectively doing is zooming in on my overall production timeline at the bottom there. Now, you saw the first clip kind of move around, but basically it makes it so when I move this cursor, I'm covering less ground than I did before, and that allows you to be a bit more precise. So when I move the, oh, sorry, it's a little touchy. Let me just double check.
We're at the
Okay. So when I move that yellow bar, it's more precise. It's cutting less of the clip. So that's an option for you to be really precise with cutting out something that you don't want in the response. Okay. So I'm going to zoom back out a bit so you can see all the clips here. Let me explain these other two editing features before we move on with our overall movie. Now, we're on that scissor menu. Remember the scissor at the bottom left, and we've talked about delete. We've talked about split. Let me just show you these other two. Duplicate is self-explanatory. If I were to select this clip and select duplicate, boom, I have a second clip. You may need that for, I don't know, get creative. Detach is sort of a next level editing thing. And what I mean by that is it's detaching the video portion, the visual part of the clip from the audio part. So you probably won't need this. I have used this a few times when I wanted to sort of tweak some of the audio, cut audio, but yet have something else come in, like natural audio, meaning what her clip sounds like. So let me play that for you.
Yeah, but see what's in their surrounding and then act upon it.
So where I might use this is where Daniel says, we share ideas and learn about new projects, I could have his voice come in, continue through the first part of her clip, and then go back into natural audio of her saying, whatever it is that she's talking about the project. So to do that, I would, move this audio thing here. So you're still seeing her, but her audio doesn't pick up until later. So that's kind of next level. Not everybody uses it, and I really use it very rarely, but I at least wanted to show that to you so that you understood what the detach feature was. I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2 clips here of this lovely lady because we are not going to need her right now. We will see her a little bit later in our production. All right, let me talk about these other menus real quick that you see at the very bottom, and then we'll start working on fine-tuning our video. So the second menu is that speedometer. So I just pressed on that. And this is pretty self-explanatory. So you'll see this gauge at the bottom. One end is a turtle. The other end is a rabbit, or the tortoise and the hare, if you want to go off the child's fairy tale. And if I wanted to, and when we first logged on, Rich had a question about slow-mo, and we talked about when to use slow-mo and when do you use something faster. So if this were an action shot that I wanted to slow down, I could take this speedometer, simply put my finger on that little white button there in the middle and drag it toward the turtle. Now you'll see the clip got bigger. Why? Because by slowing it down, it's going to take longer to get through the duration of the clip. So rather than being, 6 or 10 seconds, it's now 21 seconds. And let me play it for you. It's not going to be pretty, but here you go.
My name is Daniel Hamlin.
All right, so we wouldn't do that to an interview clip, but you might do it to an action shot of maybe Rotarians handing meals to seniors or something like that. I'm going to press that wonderful undo button on the right side. We're going to undo that. But that is what that speedometer is all about, is adjusting the speed of the clip. Then we're going to look at the audio button. That's the third one in on the left side. That also should be self-explanatory. That's the volume of a particular clip. So if a clip was sort of faint, maybe you didn't have a microphone on you, but you were in a quiet place still, so the background wouldn't be too noisy, you could crank up the volume of that clip. So I'm going to do that now. Apologies in advance if you have your volume up. This might be a little loud. And just as a side note, even though Daniel is mic'd, you do hear a lot of background noise, and that's because this particular session was filmed in a huge building where they had 6 other courses happening concurrently, everybody mic'd. So it was super loud. So normally I would not film an interview in this setting, but again, it was a quick demonstration. So here's what it is turned up.
The Buffalo Niagara Medical.
Really loud. And you can also turn it down if it's, say you have one clip. Let me correct that. Say you have some clips where they're all about the same volume level, but for whatever reason, one of your interview clips is very loud or very soft. That's another reason why you could change the volume. So let's say he's too loud. We're going to turn him down. Now he's quieter, or maybe for visual pieces, which we'll cover in a little bit, you don't want any audio because you want audio from something else. You can turn it all the way down. All right, so we're going to undo that, get him back to 100%. And then there is the T or text option. Now, the text option is really cool because you can add titles to your film. And by titles, I mean maybe main title across the entire screen. You can also add what's known as in the TV industry as a lower third. And what a lower third is that text that appears below someone's face. Now, if you ever, I think I gave you the assignment to go home and watch your local news program and look for certain film production things. I'm sure if you watch your news this evening again, you'll see something that shows up on screen temporarily. And in the case of this one, it would say Daniel Hamlin, University of Buffalo Rotaract, right? So that's what a lower third is. So it helps to add some text to your film and potentially add context to your video if there was something you needed to put on screen that wasn't already called out in your narrative. So if he never said, we are in Hamburg, Germany, then I might put on the screen Hamburg, Germany, when we start to show pictures of the international convention or something like that. So iMovie gives you a lot of different variations to play with. And this is actually the norm for a lot of different editing apps, since we talked about a couple others at the start of this session. And that's what's fun, is a lot of them now offer in animation, different fonts and cool little features. So you can really have fun. Again, I encourage you after the session, go home and just push a bunch of buttons, figure out all the cool features that are included here. So I'm going to, let's see, when you start to tap on different options, it will show you a preview of what each option looks like. So I'm just kind of scrolling through here, see if there's something here. And what it defaults to is the title. The title, again, is that thing that is across the entire screen. Let me see here, we got another waiting room attendee, perfect. All right, so as you can see, there's just different text fonts that I can play with. All right, and then there's some options here as well, and this is actually new. I haven't played with this actually, I just updated the app recently, and with every update, of course, as you well know, there's new features. So this is kind of fun as well. If you want to add, make sure something is all caps, you would hit the uppercase button here. If you want a sound effect as it appears, you can turn that on. And I'm so glad they added this part, this full clip duration at the bottom. You can turn it on if you want your text to stay on for the length of the video clip, which we can talk about in just a moment. Or if you don't, you leave that off. And then this is what when you hit, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead, where you select on style there, the top, that's where you can choose between either the default, which is in the middle of the screen, like you saw in the preview, or you can select lower third. And I'm going to leave it on lower third, and I'm going to show you what that looks like now. So I've got pop-up here. I'm going to actually, let's see, can I pick standard? Oh, I have to go back in. Okay, so I'm going to go with standard, but I'm going to go back to that menu, and I don't think I mentioned to you how I got there. I selected that little button, round button with the 3 dots. Right now it's sitting above split and chronicle. So I'm going to do that, go back to style, lower third. So good to know if you change, if you change your style, you'll have to go back, or you change the font style, that is, you'll have to go back and fix that. All right, so now you see I have this lower third. Again, it's at the lower third of the screen, and I am going to add I'm going to change the title. And so I did that by simply tapping on the preview screen where the text appears. So where you saw that text, let me, I'm going to hit done so we can see that again. And I do apologize, with the update of iMovie, it appears that this newer, larger menu is partially covering your preview screen. There's actually 2 lines of text here that I'm going to edit, but I'm tapping on that first one. So tapping it, edit shows up, I hit edit, and now I'm able to change what shows on screen. So I'm going to write Daniel, oops, we are all caps. And it likes caps apparently, so we're just going to go with it. Hamlin, and then, okay, I'm going to turn it vertically so that I can get to that other menu. So here it comes. Whee! All right, now I'm going to tap on that second line and hit edit. And now I'm able to type in where he's from. So I'm going to put the University of Buffalo Rotaract. All right. And there we go. We now have his title there. Now, when might a lower third be critical? I like to use a lower third if I want to adjust my narrative so that this person doesn't have to introduce themselves. So for example, you may recall in the preview video, it started with Daniel saying, we're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg. He never actually introduced himself. He just said he was there, right? Right now, however,
My name is Daniel Hamlin, and I am.
so if I applied this to this next clip, however, I no longer need this first 10 seconds. So I'm making it even shorter. I get rid of this unnecessary clip. I can add in my lower third. So let me just do that again. I'll be faster this time. This time I'll only do part of the title for you. All right. Done. And let's say Rotaract. Of course, I would always use the full title, but this is again a sample. And so now I'm going to going back to horizontal orientation. Here we go. Whee! I'm going to actually delete this first clip because now I don't think we really need it anymore. So here's what that looks like.
We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn and.
So it doesn't change the integrity of the clip. It doesn't change the quality of what he's saying. If anything, it's just a cheater way to shorten that clip for use on social media. Why? Well, I think I told you last week that the average human being has an attention span that is shorter than that of a goldfish. So when we are sharing videos, we really want to get to the chase. We want to grab people's attention, whether it's something beautiful and visual or some sort of soundbite that makes you want to go, tell me more, right? So that's one reason to do it. Now, somebody introducing themselves is not necessarily going to turn someone off, but again, it helps shorten that overall length of video. Let's do a random instant poll here. I did not plan for this, but you can just simply raise your hand in the screen. How many of you, when you're scrolling on the internet, would rather click on a video that says 40 seconds than a video that says 4.5 minutes? It's okay. True. Exactly. So it's what happens here is safe here, at least until it's posted to the district's YouTube page. So with that, be looking for opportunities to keep things short. And this is a really easy video to edit because I only talked to Daniel for 1.5 minutes and we're going to trim it down to 40 seconds. If you interview a ton of people, it can be really hard to let go of content. I know I've been there, but be ruthless and really try to find just the gems, just the core of the story so that you can keep your videos tighter, shorter, more meaningful, and people don't get bored, sadly. All right, so back to editing. Now, something I want to show you in iMovie, we talked about that change in the text features that I was really excited about. Let me go back and show you. It was this full clip duration at the bottom. This is new. It used to be that when you applied this text, it literally showed on screen the entire clip. And the reason I'm bringing this up is in case for whatever reason you have an older version of iMovie, update it first of all, but if you can't, a cheater way to stop it from showing the whole clip is just move in about, I don't know, halfway through, 6, 7, 8 seconds, and then split it and you sort of force it to stop showing on screen. So you may not need that now that iMovie has added that feature, but just wanted to walk you through that if you do have an older version of iMovie. Okay, going back to our tutorial on the menu, and then we'll start doing all the flash and dash on this cool video. The final aspect of that lower menu that appears below your editing bay, those 3 little circles, that takes us back to, again, those filters. Now, this option does apply clip by clip, whereas that previous one I showed you was the whole project. So if I wanted to have fun and make this clip of Daniel in black and white, or I wanted to be really artistic with some of these really goofy colors, you know what? The world is your oyster. Have fun. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Make him a comic. All right. Well, see, I shouldn't talk. Maybe I will do that in the future. But anyway, that's what that is. So again, go home, push buttons, play with this app, have fun. There are no rules. As long as you're making videos and sharing them, that's the main objective. All right, so now we have our narrative fairly locked, I would say. We've got Daniel here talking about the convention. We've cut out the interviewer for the most part. Oh, I feel like I'm missing some clips here. Did I accidentally delete
Convention
something?
in Hamburg, Germany.
Well, that's right. I cut his original clip. No wonder there's only 3. So we've got just him talking. We've got the intro slide with his title, although it's abbreviated. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the fun stuff. We're going to add the visuals. So I'm going to start by figuring out where I want to add the first
Rotary
one.
International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn.
All right, I'm going to pause there. I think this is a good place to cut away from Daniel while he's still talking and show the convention. So remember the menu on the right side, excuse me, I'm dyslexic, the left side, the plus sign, we're going to press that to add more content. And again, there's different things we can add. We can add photos and videos, and we'll get to audio and other things a little bit later. So I'm going to go to video because I also collected quite a bit of content while I was in Hamburg. And of course, this matches up with all the folders that you have on your phone. So if you decide you want to start stashing all of your content for a particular project in a folder, that's a great way to keep it organized. So this is what it looks like the second time you tried to add content. The first time we had a lot of little boxes, right? The second time is a bit more precise and it allows you to preview. Well, actually, the first time you could preview as well, but it's just a little bit different. And let me show you why. 2 things. One, it will show you when you've already used a clip. So for example, you see the second one down is our clip of Daniel, our interviewee. And you'll notice that on that clip, there's some orange lines along the bottom. That actually represents the portions of the clip that we have already used in our project. So as you're looking through various footage, and maybe you're looking for some filler footage, you might be scrolling through and saying, have I used this yet? Have I used this yet? iMovie will tell you, and that's how they tell you. Secondly, it allows you to preview to see if say you have a lot of footage that's very similar, or you grabbed a ton of footage and you're not really sure, is this really what I want? You can scroll through. Let's say we want to tap one here in the middle. You can press play to preview it. So it's like a little miniature preview to say like, oh yeah, that does look good, or the audio is terrible, or whatever it may be. It also can help you do a little editing on the front end before you even put it in your project. So for example, let's say I want to use that clip. Remember how we edited early on by dragging those thick yellow side borders in and out? We can do the same thing with this clip. So I'm going to trim the front end of that by placing my finger on the thick yellow border on the left side. And maybe it's not going to let me. Here we go. I'm sorry. I'm going to go from the back end first, apparently. I'm going from the right side. And I'm pulling that in. I'll just stop there. And then I'm going to try again from the front. There we go. And notice, I'm going to pause with my finger still on there, though. Notice the left side of that clip. There's a 4.5S. It also tells you the length of that clip. So if you have a really, really long clip, it may be a starting length. And you'll see on all the clips, they have different numbers. That's the length of the clip. And then as you're editing, you'll see that the number is going down. So it'll tell you how much you're trimming it. You may say, oh, I really love this part here, but 0.7 seconds is not very long. That's like literally a blip on the radar. People won't be able to appreciate what's actually happening. I say, if possible, don't go anywhere shorter than 2 seconds. It really is. I mean, at that point, it's a flash. 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I say 3 to 4 seconds is kind of a sweet spot. Unless there's really good action happening in a clip, then you could go longer. Anyway, now that we've isolated this clip, I could, in theory, insert this into my project, and it would only be this portion of the clip. Okay. but you don't have to do it that way. You can insert the entire clip. So getting back to what we were working on, we're going to focus on inserting a clip of the convention into our piece. So I've got this piece here. I'm going to give you a quick preview.
Attention, please, sorry.
All right, well, the audio is terrible, but we're going to use this clip because it is kind of a cool entry into the convention. I'm going to trim this up a little bit though, because I was a little delayed on the sign for a few seconds, but let's stick with maybe, I don't know, 3.5 seconds. How about that? Now, there's something really important I want to talk to you about before you go and hit that plus sign, because I think Instinct's going to want to tell you, hit plus. Yes, you can hit plus, but let me show you what happens. You're not going to want to hit plus to make it a cutaway visual, but this is what happens if you hit plus. It actually sticks it into that main narrative line. And so unfortunately, in the middle of your interview,
better Rotarians through this event.
Attention, please, sorry.
now you can do that. If you wanted to have a longer piece and Daniel talks a little bit about the convention and then you cut away from Daniel and you want to show some different clips and get some of that natural sound, you can do that. For what I'm showing you, we're not going to go that step, but yes, absolutely. Just keep hitting that plus sign, add as many clips as you want in there, and then you can come back to Daniel. All right. So, oops, getting ahead of myself. So I'm going to remove this temporarily so that you see it. Now we're going to go back and we're going to actually try to add a second layer so that you still hear Daniel, but you're seeing that footage instead. So let me go back to my folder. Let me go back and find my clip. I'm going to edit. Let's see here. Something like that. We'll leave that there. And 3.5-ish. So instead, I'm going to hit those 3 dots, that menu, and you're going to get a number of different options. Cutaway is what we're going to use. And that literally means I'm going to cut away from the visual of Daniel and cut to this visual that I'm about to stick into my film. Picture in picture is literally what it sounds like. There's a picture of this visual inside the bigger picture of Daniel. So think about, they don't do this in the news as much anymore, but historically, when you watch your local news and the anchors on TV, there'd be a little box next to their head showing, Rotary's logo or showing, a turkey during Thanksgiving or something to sort of tease the next story they were going into. That's what picture in picture is. Split screen is literally a left or right split. So Daniel would be on one side of your screen and this footage would be on another. Blue screen, green screen. If you had filmed on a green screen, that would be an opportunity for you to slip this clip in here and edit it accordingly. And yes, iMovie does do green screen technology, which is kind of cool. I know a lot of people are getting into that these days, especially learning about it through Zoom. And then finally, audio only. If you wanted to get that natural sound from these clips, but not the visuals, you could extract that audio. That's what all that means. We're going to go ahead and stick with cutaway. So I'm going to click on that. And it takes my nice tight clip and places it on top of our clip of Daniel. Now, let me tell you, when you get into editing, and let me back up. If you are into more intricate editing, let's say you're actually editing on a computer, and I saw Trevor logged on at some point, so he probably knows all about this. Professional editing software would have multiple lines of options. So you would have that bottom line of Daniel, and then a line above that, you'd have options for visuals, and then another line above that, another line about that, different layers, if you will. The opportunities are endless. And basically that represents the opportunity to layer in different factors. With iMovie, you only get 2, but 2's generally enough. So just a little extra background for you on how video editing generally works. So let's take a quick look at what this looks like now. We have our little clip in there.
To learn and engage in fellowship and just become better Rotarians through this event.
All right, so I made that clip rather short. Hindsight, maybe I should have left it on a little longer, but we're going to keep adding clips. So let's go ahead and add more B-roll. Oh, that's a term we used last week. Does anybody remember what that's all about? B-roll. As we talked about last time, and as I just explained, see that bottom line of Daniel, that's your primary sort of narrative. B-roll would be that secondary footage that you're going to use to help tell a story. So that's what that means. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead and try to go fairly quick to drop in some footage. So I love the flag ceremony. So let's get some movement with the flags here. If you haven't been to an international convention, I love them. And if you love the Olympics, the flag ceremony feels like the opening ceremony of the Olympics. It is so cool. All right, we're going to add that in there. Boom. Now, let me show you something. Because the cursor was at the end of the previous clip, iMovie stuck that next cutaway clip right after it. All right. And so as long as you kind of continue that, you continue that approach, it will do that. If I were to move my cursor over here and say, all right, let's add some other footage. Let's see, where's my do-goodery guy? Let's trim this up a little bit. This is an awful long clip. So maybe 4 seconds. It put it over here. It put it at the end of where my cursor was. Now, if that's not something you want to do, no problem. Simply press and hold on the clip. It will basically lift it to sort of signify, okay, you've selected it, and it will allow you to drag and drop. And this is something that you can also do on the primary line of Daniel's interviews. If for some reason our clips got mixed up, I could press and hold. So I'm going to do that on the final clip there and see how it sort of like lifts it. And I can be like, wee, I'm going to put it wherever I want, right? Put it at the beginning, let go. Now it's at the beginning, but I don't really want it there. Drag it to the very end again. Now it's at the end. Same sort of thing with this clip. So I'm going to lightly press on the purple clip, which signifies the B-roll that I want, and drag it over. Now, it's really small. This looks really hard. Does anybody remember how we zoom in on our footage to make it a little bit easier to work with? You got it, Rich. All right, so I'm going to just move my fingers, zooming in on my project. And now that clip is a little larger and a little easier for me to grab because the fingers take off weight, I think, on your hands, but these fingers are bigger than they look. So I'm going to take my large fingers and I'm going to press on that clip and just drag it over. And it almost looked like I sort of crossed over that other clip, but basically butted it up against that. So let's take a quick peek at what our video looks like so far.
We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn and engage in fellowship and just become better Rotarians through this event. The thing I love most about it is how quickly ideas are shared and how quickly you meet so many people in such a tight space, and you go from meeting to talking, connecting, planning.
All right, oops, I hit the wrong button on that. So one thing that you can pay attention to is what this person is saying, and there's an opportunity to semi-match up what they're talking about with the visuals. So I really love how he goes into, meeting, talking, collaborating, sharing ideas, talking about projects. So I'm actually going to remove do-goodery. Sorry, no offense. If you were at the Hamburg convention, you know that this was one of the best speakers there. So I'm going to hit that delete button. And instead, I'm going to insert maybe, let's see, some House of Friendship action photos. Now, you may recall that last week, and if you weren't with us again, and I know some of you joined late, I will definitely share the recording from last week. We talked about the importance of diversity in types of clips that you're getting. There's the concept of wide, medium, close, or tight, if you will. And you'll see here, I do have some kind of unusual angles because honestly, I was just playing, having fun, getting different types of footage. So how about, let's get an action. Well, we already have a walk-in shot with Jenny there, but how about getting some Rotary ribbons? I know that sounds crazy, but Rotarians love their ribbons for their name badge, right? So this is kind of a close-up action shot where they're grabbing in under the table at the convention. I'm going to hit play so you can preview it, and just grabbing.
Orange one too. I like it. Oh, I like the pink.
All right, so you can see it's an action shot of a hand grabbing, right? It's an interest. I don't know that I'm going to play the entire piece, but I think I'll just grab something that shows her grabbing at least 2 of those ribbons. So she got an orange one and looks like that. All right, so it's 5 seconds, a little longer than normal, but that's all right. We're going to stick that in there. So again, hit the menu, cut away. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll add some context. And this is that same person now handing a ribbon to our Rotarian here. I think that works. Oh, that's 1 minute or 1 second. That's a little short. So how about right there? Let's try to throw that in and see how that looks.
The thing I love most about it is how quickly ideas are shared and how quickly you meet so many people in such a tight space, and you go from
So frankly, and this is me getting picky, you know, I could cut this first ribbon piece out and just do the second ribbon so it's nice and tight. I'm going to drag this over. Let's see. All right. And then let's add some talking real quick, and then we're going to move on. I know you're tired of watching me edit, but I'm trying to repeat this over and over just to show how simple the steps are. So here's an over the shoulder shot of a Rotarian that you may recognize from our district. Let's see. So it's kind of an interesting shot because it's over someone's shoulder. So we can see that he's engaging with these individuals. All right, so we're going to pop that in. And let's just take a quick peek at how that turned
The thing I
out.
love most about it is how quickly ideas are shared and how quickly you meet so many people in such a tight space, and you go from
All right, so you start to get the idea. I'm not going to go through and put in all of the footage because I want to be respectful of your time, but that's how you would add your B-roll or your visuals, and you can have a lot of fun in terms of how you order it, what you zero in on, and that sort of thing. So I want to pause real quick, and we are going to talk about adding photos and adding music and different things like that, but just to see if there's any quick questions at this moment before we keep moving on. Seeing some shaking heads, so I'm assuming that's a no. All right, I see some smiles. I don't see completely bewildered faces, so that's a good sign. Okay, we're going to keep moving then. Now, you can also add photos to your timeline. If maybe you had some great shots of Rotarians, but you didn't hit record for whatever reason, that's okay. So I'm going to go back to, sorry, I jumped ahead. I'm hitting my plus side to add content. And if I'm in my folder, which I was earlier, I would just hit that back at the top left. And that brings you back to the core of what is it that you want to enter: photo, video, that sort of thing. So I could select from my photos here, and it's the same sort of thing. It's going to recognize any folders that you have. So maybe it's recently added or your full camera roll. So I also have some photos saved in my Rotary demo. So here's a lovely shot of some Rotarians having fun. So I'm going to go ahead and insert that. And it's the same sort of thing when I select on it. If I were to hit the plus sign, it's going to go into the primary footage where, you know, we have Daniel saved. But if I hit that menu screen, you get similar options: cutaway, picture in picture, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to hit cutaway. And there you go. There's a photo. Now, photos are a little, they're less dynamic in that, you know, if you go from a moving clip to suddenly a photo, It may not hold the interest of your viewer as much, so you can certainly trim it to just a few seconds using the exact same tools you used before. I'm going to press my finger on that thick yellow border on the right side and just drag it in for however long I want it to show up. Unfortunately, I don't have a reading like the other ones gave you, where it's like 3 seconds, 2 seconds, so on. But you can sort of look at a neighboring clip. So for example, well, that one's not telling me either, but I think that was about 3 seconds. So if that's about the same length in the timeline, then you know that's about 3 seconds. You also see there's a magnifying glass in the top right. So if you click on that, you'll see it says pinch to zoom. So if I wanted to, I could simply zoom in on this group photo, and then you see the Rotarians up close versus the wider shot with the Rotary sign. So that's how that works, especially if maybe the photo was taken and it wasn't quite framed up as you wanted to, and say I want to get rid of that flag. So I could zoom just to the edges of the Rotary sign, for example. And then just using my finger on that preview sign, that's where I'm pinching and moving. Since I know you can't see where my fingers are, it's that larger preview screen up top is where I'm doing that, just so you know. All right. Now, if you were to add photos into your main dialogue line, if you will, you do get a few other features that you unfortunately don't as cutaway. And I want to demo that to you because some of you may decide you want to do slideshows, and slideshows are fine. They're great. So let me show you what that looks like real quick. I'm going to hit the plus sign, and I'm going to pick this group photo off to the far left and go ahead and just hit the plus sign rather than the menu. So again, that plus sign puts it into the main sort of narrative line. So it breaks up the interview. It's basically going to stick it in the nearest open spot to where your cursor is. So even if my cursor was here in the middle of the Daniel clip, it's still going to push it to the nearest available break, if you will. So here's my photo. And if I tap on it, you'll see that there is some different features that show up on the main preview screen. And how many of you have heard of the filmmaker Ken Burns? Hopefully all of you. If not, please Google and go see his work. He's incredible. He actually perfected this technique. A lot of what Ken Burns creates documentaries on. He's a documentary filmmaker. He has done everything from documentary on Yosemite to, I think, baseball, and I can't even remember what his latest one was, but it was phenomenal. He does a lot of historical documentaries, and this is often at a period before film even existed. So he's using a lot of old historic photos, but he perfected this feature, which was dubbed after him, the Ken Burns effect, that felt like the photo was alive. And basically, rather than just having a still photo on screen, he used this simultaneous either zooming in and zooming out with also a motion to the left or to the right. And so this is built into iMovie, and it's really kind of cool to add some interest to a still photo in your film. So let me show you how this works. It's automatically enabled when you insert a photo, and I'll just show you what the default looks like by hitting play. So you'll see that it's kind of zooming in a little bit, and it's going from like left to right. See that? Ooh. Now you have control over that. So if I wanted to, I could decide I wanted to zoom in more, and maybe I wanted to go from right to left. So you'll see that there's the Ken Burns enabled. If I click on that, it disables it, and it's just a regular old photo on screen. Nothing fancy, right? But if I enable it, you'll see there's two other options: pinch to start or pinch position to end. So I'm basically pressing on either one of those play stop buttons there. So when I press on that, I can then decide how I want this to look. So I'm going to be kind of wild. I'm going to say we're zoomed in on a whole lot of people. Now, this is not what I would normally do. I'm exaggerating so that you understand the effect. But, you know, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to go all the way to the left, right? This woman walking. And then to end, we're going to zoom, maybe not all the way out, but somewhat out, and we'll go all the way to the right. Now this is going to be really chaotic. I would not normally do this kind of setup, but again, I just want to exaggerate to show you how much control you have over the effect. So when I hit play now,
So fast.
so it goes from that small vantage point to the broader
It's
vantage point.
probably
Again, that was a little faster than I would want to do, but you hopefully get the idea of the control. It doesn't have to zoom. It doesn't have to go so far left or right. It can be very, very subtle, actually. So maybe not so much zoomy zoom, but a little bit. And then, it creates
so
just
fast.
a little bit of interest. We're zooming the attention in on the screen.
It's probably the
So that's another effect you can use if you decide to incorporate photos. There's no wrong way, no right way. So certainly, again, push buttons, play with this. And if you decide to create a photo slideshow only with maybe a voiceover, which is an option, and we'll talk about in a minute, you can do that. Okay, I'm going to delete my photo from the screen because we don't need it. And let's keep on moving here. So one thing we haven't yet talked about, we've done our narrative, we've done our B-roll, we've done our title at the very beginning. Let's talk about some cool audio. Sometimes people like to put music as background underneath their videos. It can add some emotional element to it. Maybe you have a really cheerful, happy video. Maybe it's a very emotional video because you're talking about someone's personal experience, overcoming something. There's inspirational music, there's party music, there's everything under the sun. Well, iMovie makes it easy for you to incorporate music as well. And the steps are the same. You're going to select that plus sign on the left side. I don't want a photo, so I'm going to kind of dial back in that top left until I get back to that core content. And now I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select audio. Now, there's a few things that I want to pause and warn you about. There's some different options here. Yes, there's sound effects. We'll talk about that. You can have some fun with those. But it does want to pull music from your personal audio library. A lot of people like to go into iTunes, or I think it's Apple Music now. You can download songs and keep all your favorite artists on your phone, all your favorite albums, and listen to them whenever you want. iMovie makes those available to you. Now, it may be tempting for you to have your favorite pump up jam as your rotary song, but you need to be very careful if you decide to share these videos online, because there are licensing issues that you will face. And if you decide to share this on your club's Facebook page or YouTube page or anything in between, your Rotary Club or you could be faced with a copyright infringement issue. Artists are wildly different. Some are totally fine with you using your music. Others are not. And let me tell you, you can't share anything of Aretha Franklin, so just don't try it. However, a lot of these apps now are offering royalty-free music, license-free music that you can just drop into your piece instead, and you don't have to worry about any kind of copyright infringement suit. So I really strongly encourage you to stay away from your personal audio library and use music, if you choose to use music, that's royalty-free. And so to get there, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. I hit soundtracks at the very top. If I were to hit my music, that literally is my personal audio music. So we're going to go soundtracks. And if you were an early user of iTunes, or excuse me, iMovie, you probably were bored because they literally only had like 6 songs. But now they have quite a variety of songs. And as you'll see, as I continue to scroll, you'll see pop there at the top. That's actually kind of a category of genre of music. Then they have playful, chill, if you're into kind of that lounge, downbeat, no, but excuse me. And there's that sentimental, that emotional piece. So as you can see, there's a lot of different music options here now. So they're really, I mean, unless you have a reason to use a commercial artist song, you really can just get away with using what's built into iMovie. There's also other options online as well. YouTube now has a royalty-free music library that you can download music from. And there are other resources as well. If you decide to buy the license for music, online, you can actually email the music track or put it on Dropbox, something, email it to yourself. You can download it onto your phone, and then using your My Music or whatever, you can get it that way. But again, only use My Music if you actually have the license. Okay, enough talking. Let me pick something. I have not looked at this since the latest app update. So there is some new music here, which is another cool thing, is they're frequently adding new songs. So I'm not familiar with all of the songs here. I'm going to tap a few so you can see that it is possible to preview. Idiot's Paradise. Oh my gosh, what a name for a song. So if you tap it, it will preview it. I don't know if that's a song for Hamburg. Let's see, Energizing Jam. Let's see. Is that like German house music maybe? Okay, maybe not. Let's see. Let's find something, hopefully. All right, good enough. We're gonna go with this. So what I'm doing is I'm just tapping on each one. It will kind of do a quick download of like a preview clip, and then let you play it. And then if you want to use it, then again, like we've become used to, there's that plus sign on the right side of the screen. So I'm going to stick with this clip here, hitting the plus sign. Boom. Now you see that green line below Daniel. That's our music clip, and it has automatically been applied to the duration of our film. So I'm going to play just a few seconds so you can hear what that sounds like.
We're at the Rotary International Convention in Hamburg, Germany, and we are here to learn and engage in fellowship and just become better Rotarians through this event. The thing
So again, the unfortunate part with Daniel's clip is it was filmed in a noisy room. And so if we had filmed him in a quieter location, I think you would appreciate the music more. So take that into consideration. Now you can adjust the volume of the clip like you did the volume of the film clips we talked about earlier. So I've selected the music clip rather at the bottom. I just tapped on it. And as you see, many of the same options popped up as we saw with the film clips. So if I wanted to change the volume, I'd hit the little audio symbol in the lower left, and I can turn this music on up. So I'm going to go full blast. Plug your ears, everyone.
Germany, and we are.
All right, that's too loud, but you get the idea of how you might change the volume of a music clip. So I'm going to turn it down a bit. Same sort of thing, you can trim it if you want. So if you want the music to come in a little later, you certainly can. Or if you want it to stop at a certain point, let's say we don't want it to play during Daniel's final remarks, let's say we're so profound, we could do that. So I just basically, as you know, you're coming to know, you touch that wide, thick outside border, and I'm just trimming it on down. So that's how that works with music. There's also sound effects if you want to do sound effects. So if you want a car driving by, you want applause at the end, you can see a lot of these are similar to the noises or the sounds that you have on your phone, your ringtones, things like that. But there's some other fun things, like cow moo, anything that you can think of, it's in here. And I know what you're thinking, Rich. Yes, I actually have used sound effects in a Rotary video, and it was a lot of fun. So that is an option for you on the sound side of things. So again, keep that in mind on the licensing front, but music can add a little bit of polish to your video. So with that, I'm going to pause again on the audio front and just see if there's any burning questions. Otherwise, I'm going to try to keep on moving to keep us on time. All right. So I'm not seeing any hands. We are at 7:30, so I tend to get carried away with this editing stuff because I have so much fun with it. Sorry. There's two quick things I want to show you, and then we're going to talk briefly about sharing your video. If you need to go, I know this was only scheduled from 6 to 7:30. that's fine. We're going to keep trucking just a little bit longer. If you're welcome, if you're able to stay, please do. If you're not, I'll be happy to email out this recording as soon as it's ready online. So the last two editing things I want to show you are voiceover and then the in tag. So voiceover is, as you see on screen, an opportunity for you to add your own voice to the clip. Now, this is if you wanted to narrate what's going on. So remember earlier when I said maybe you have a photo only, a slideshow type thing, or maybe you didn't get a very good interview, or or nobody wanted to be interviewed, and it's just a lot of cool clips of things in action. You can actually record in the app whatever it is that you want to say to help narrate what's on screen. Now, I'll tell you, I have played with this a few times. It helps to have a pre-written script. Obviously, some of you are natural gifted speakers, so you could try to wing it. And it also helps to rehearse it a few times, especially if your clips are only so long and you need to sort of nail the timing. So I've done this for some instructional videos before, but really the options are endless. I don't know that I can actually, well, I could try to do this on Zoom. That we're in new territory, so let's play with this real quick. Hello, this is Lainey, and I'm not recording because I don't think you can hear me. All right, let's actually see if it heard me because I think I'm on mute on that device.
We're at the Rotary International Convention.
Okay, so the way I have this phone set up to share on Zoom, unfortunately, I can't record as I sort of shared with you earlier, but you get the idea. I could hit record, and then as you saw that the cursor was moving with Daniel as I was recording. So I could basically, for fun, let me just redo this. Delete. This is Daniel. Daniel's a Rotor actor. He loves Rotary. He's in Hamburg right now at the International Convention. Okay, don't ever let that be your actual voiceover, but now you understand as I'm talking, things are showing up on screen. So that's how the voiceover works. And it's another opportunity to add narrative to your video. Again, if you don't have an interview that works, or maybe one of quality. All right, so we're gonna get rid of that. And the final thing I wanted to show you is kind of a public image hack. It's actually not built into iMovie, but it's something that you can very easily incorporate into all of your videos. How many of you have watched a video online, and at the very end of the video, you've seen something on screen with the organization logo and website at the end? Anybody? Nobody? Thank you for your honesty. All right, so always be shamelessly marketing. And if you're going to be pushing this online, which you should be, think about driving people back to whatever website corresponds with your video. So for Rich, it might be the San Francisco Chinatown's website. If he's supporting an organization like Alliance for Smiles and doing a video for them, it could be the Alliance for Smiles website. Whatever it is that you think is appropriate. If you don't have a website or something to push to, that's fine. But it could be find us on Facebook or whatever. If we're putting it out on the web, remember there are thousands, if not millions of viewers that want to stumble upon your video. Help them find Rotary in return. So to do that, I'm hitting my plus sign and I'm going to photos. Why? Because I created, not a very pretty one, I will admit, but I created an in slide quickly for an in tag for my video for my club. Oh, excuse me. Hold on. Let me fix something. Okay. Basically, it was calling me on where there we go. All right. So I went into PowerPoint and I took my club's logo, stuck it in the middle of the screen, and then opened up a text thing and put my club's URL and put it below that. And then I exported that PowerPoint slide as a JPEG, emailed it to myself, saved it to my phone. And now at the end of any Rotary Club of San Francisco video, I can just slap that on there and it's that branding at the end, advertising my club and my club website. Now, for this video, which talks about the convention, probably be more appropriate to just have Rotary in general, or something with Hamburg. Join us at the next convention, maybe, whatever you want. You also don't have to do it in PowerPoint. There's now Canva, there's Photoshop, there's a lot of other tools out there that are inexpensive or free to use. Basically, you just need to create something that is that 16 by 9 PowerPoint slides size, or 1920 by 1080 pixels if you want to get really technical. But that way, at the end of your video, you have a little polished ending and a little promo for your club or your cause. So that is the last thing I wanted to show you in editing. And so now we are going to get to the good stuff, and that is what to do with your video when you're done. So let me switch back to my other device. All right, so to export, I hit done at the end there before I quit sharing. That's at that top left corner, and you'll see this is kind of what you see here. When you click on a project that's existing, you'll see this kind of secondary screen, and you can choose to preview it. You can hit edit, or at the very bottom there, it gives you some other options. To export it, I often hit that little option in the middle of the box with the arrow pointing up. Oh, I should actually keep sharing my screen. Hold on. It's been a while. Give me 4 seconds. Okay, let me back up. All right, so we're going to press that little button in the middle, the box with the arrow, and you'll see that you're given a lot of options similar to when you're playing on your iPhone and you want to share a photo or something like that. Many of the same options show up. Here you see I can share it with some of my peeps on Facebook Messenger. I could pick different apps. It does give you the option to upload it directly to an app. I personally generally save it to my phone and then upload it, because sometimes it will time out when I'm uploading it to Facebook or to YouTube. So I would then just hit save video, which is that second option down below all those apps. And now, as you can see, it's exporting my movie. This will save it to my camera roll like any other video. And then from there, I can text it to people, or I can go into other apps like my Facebook app or my YouTube app or whatever and upload it. Or I could upload it into Dropbox and then send the Dropbox link to my club president, and then she could download it and put it in her PowerPoint to show at a meeting or something like that. So basically, that's what you do with your video. All right, and now you see it's been exported to my photo library, and just to show you that I'm not a liar, there it is.
The Rotary International Convention and
All right, so I'm going to switch devices again real quick so we can wrap on up. All right, so the final most important thing is, what are you going to do with this wonderful, hopefully award-winning masterpiece that you create? Share it liberally. Do not leave it on your phone. Hopefully your club has a Facebook page. If you don't know who manages that Facebook page, find out and let them know that you have content to share. Either they can post it for you, or perhaps you can get access to be able to share it to your club's page. Some clubs also have YouTube pages, or Vimeo is another video sharing option. YouTube and Vimeo are great because you can then take those videos and embed them on your club's website. So maybe you create a welcome message from your president and other club members that you want to share to your website. So when someone logs on to your website, that welcome message is the first thing you see. So if it's on YouTube, then you can basically say, appear on my website. So those are some options. And as we've already talked about, you can show these videos, especially if they're short, at club meetings for any club members that were unable to attend a service project. And frankly, even members that attended service projects love to see these things because they love to bask in the success of the project that was completed. You also can put links in newsletters. And if you get Governor Danielle Lallamont's monthly newsletter, and I hope you do, you'll see that we link her videos in that. She has a monthly message and we email it out to membership. So that is an option that you can do as well. All right, so I'm going to pause there. I don't think we're going to get into advanced equipment because it's a little much. I did keep you 10 minutes over, but I'm going to open it back up for questions if you have any. And Rich, I see have your hand up, so take it away.
Well, with regards to YouTube, if you put a link to that on your Facebook page, what I've been finding with YouTube is when you go to the YouTube, you have a commercial you have to get through. Has anyone run into that, or you have to subscribe to get that removed?
It's unfortunate that yes, YouTube is doing what they call monetizing more. And so they will put little commercials in front of that you either have to wait through or wait 5 seconds and then say, I want to skip it. For you as a user, you can avoid that if you pay YouTube subscription fee, which I think is $9.99 a month. So then you can click on whatever video you want and not have to worry about those pesky ads. But that's how YouTube is able to offer its service to everybody for free, is by running ads. And so for you to upload videos, or your club to upload videos, you can upload countless videos and they never charge. I mean, I've been on YouTube for years and I have a ton of my own personal creations on there, and I've never been charged a dime, except when I didn't want to have to deal with commercials, and then I signed up for that.
Well, so I know that protects you as far as you're concerned, but what about somebody else going on? They have to subscribe as well. Is that correct?
They do. Now, I don't know if there's a way for I don't believe there's a way for the video host to say, I don't want you to run videos over or commercials or whatever, unless you're like big time, like you're a big time artist with a huge following. I think then you're provided options to control that. But for the average Rotary Club and average user, most of us have, maybe a few hundred followers. You have to get up into the thousands to start to have control over that sort of thing. Keep in mind, though, if you have short, pithy, cool videos that advertise your club, you can go on YouTube and use that as an advertisement. And that would show up on the front end of someone's video, and they could click for more information to learn about your Rotary Club. And YouTube is much like Facebook in that it allows you to really target your audience. So you could say, I only want people between the age of 35 and 50 in San Francisco, and it will target that, so that people that are actually engaging with your ad, is your target audience, and you're getting your money's worth, versus an ad on TV could be anyone, anywhere. So other questions? Mark, I saw you came off mute.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say this was great. Thank you. Very informative. I mean, I definitely need to play around with it, but I certainly have the basics for getting started. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. And I can't wait to see your videos. When I've taught this class before, I've told people, please, I'd love to see whatever you come up with, because I just love seeing other people's perspectives of how to, create these videos, the narratives that they share, the different camera angles they use. And one of my favorite stories is actually, and you may know this person, there's an individual over in the UK who took my class in Hamburg, the one that you saw where you met Daniel. And he went on to do his own personal video clips to connect with people. And I think he called it Rotary Connects or something like that. But during the pandemic, when everybody was, we're locked down, what do we do? He started doing his own personal inspirational messages, and then he started hosting Rotary Talks. And so, the more you play with it, who knows what you can do with it. Other questions that I can answer before we wrap up? All right. So what I will do is this session was recorded, so we'll get this uploaded to the district YouTube page ASAP. As soon as it's live, I will follow up with an email to all of you who attended tonight with both that one and the first one, because I know there were a couple of you that were unable to attend the first one. And if you have any questions, you'll then have my email address for follow-up. And I'm happy to assist you if you do have any follow-up questions as you start to work on projects. Also, if you are interested in hosting this workshop as an offering for your club, as you can see, I can do it virtually, and I have also done it in person in the past as well. We can break it up into little modules like we did with the district, or I can do it all in one setting, which is about 2 hours or so if I not get into the editing depth that I went with you tonight. So anyway, thank you again for joining me. It was a lot of fun to have you here. Can't wait to see your videos, and we'll see you at the next Learning and Leadership Development Seminar. So have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.